The Middle East teeters on the edge of all-out war, as tensions reach a boiling point not seen in generations. On June 20th, 2025, Iran and Israel's direct military confrontation has entered its eighth day, shattering decades of uneasy stalemate and sending shockwaves across the globe. What began as covert operations and proxy battles has exploded into open warfare, with missiles and warplanes striking deep into both nations, leaving destruction in their wake. The world watches anxiously as cities become battlegrounds, families are displaced, and the cycle of retaliation intensifies with each passing hour. The conflict, once limited to Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza, now threatens the heart of both countries, with air raid sirens and explosions a daily, terrifying reality for millions. The stakes are global. Oil prices spike, embassies evacuate, and the world economy feels the tremors of instability. The specter of nuclear escalation looms, casting a shadow of fear and uncertainty over the entire region. Each attack provokes a fiercer response, making de-escalation increasingly difficult as leaders on both sides face mounting pressure. The international community faces a stark choice: broker a ceasefire, intervene diplomatically, and prevent further bloodshed, or risk a regional catastrophe that could engulf neighboring countries and destabilize the world. The window for peace is closing fast, and the decisions made in the coming days will shape the future of the Middle East and the world for years to come. Today's violence has struck civilians with terrifying force, shattering any sense of normalcy and safety in daily life. Iran launched a barrage of missiles at Israeli cities, Haifa, Tel Aviv, and Beersheba, targeting not just military sites, but the very heart of civilian life, leaving entire neighborhoods in fear and uncertainty. 17 Israelis were wounded, including a teenager in critical condition, as air raid sirens sent families scrambling for shelter, clutching loved ones and bracing for impact in the darkness. Yesterday, an Iranian missile hit Soroka Medical Center, injuring dozens of doctors and patients, and turning a place of healing into a scene of chaos and fear. Hospitals and technology parks have become targets, blurring the line between combatant and civilian and threatening the very infrastructure that supports daily life and innovation. Daily life is paralyzed, schools closed, businesses shuttered, and anxiety ever present as families wonder when or if it will be safe to return to normal routines. The psychological toll is immense, with society living under siege, children and adults alike haunted by the constant threat of attack and the uncertainty of tomorrow. Both sides now target cities and infrastructure, escalating the suffering and making recovery seem ever more distant for those caught in the crossfire. International law is being tested as civilian casualties mount, and humanitarian organizations struggle to keep up with the growing needs of the wounded and displaced. The urgent need for a ceasefire grows with every strike, as communities and leaders alike call for an end to the violence and a return to peace. Israel has launched a relentless and highly coordinated air campaign deep inside Iranian territory, marking one of the most significant military operations in the region in recent years. Over 60 warplanes have been deployed, striking not only Tehran, but also a range of other strategic sites across Iran, demonstrating Israel's far-reaching military capabilities. The primary objective: to cripple Iran's military and nuclear infrastructure, sending a clear message about the consequences of continued escalation. Strikes have severely damaged the Arak heavy water facility and multiple sites near Natanz, raising international fears of a potential nuclear disaster and environmental catastrophe. Israel claims to have eliminated several senior Iranian nuclear scientists, further disrupting Iran's nuclear ambitions and sending shockwaves through its scientific community. Much of Iran's missile arsenal has also been destroyed. Those significant threats and hidden stockpiles are believed to remain, keeping the region on edge. The campaign's unprecedented scope suggests a dramatic shift, from simply degrading Iran's capabilities to actively destabilizing its regime and sowing uncertainty within its leadership. Defense Minister Yoav Katz's direct threat to Iran's supreme leader signals a dangerous new phase, escalating tensions to a level not seen in decades. What began as a calculated act of military retaliation now risks spiraling into an existential struggle for both nations, with civilians caught in the crossfire. The prospect of regime change in Iran makes any hope for diplomatic resolution even more elusive as world leaders scramble to prevent further escalation. The stakes have never been higher, and the world watches anxiously as the crisis unfolds. As bombs fall, diplomats scramble in Geneva. UK, France, Germany, and the EU meet Iran's foreign minister in the first direct talks since the conflict erupted. The US, watching closely, has set a 2-week deadline for diplomacy before considering military action. France leads with a 4-point plan: restore IAEA inspections, oversee Iran's missile program, halt support for proxies, and release detained foreigners. The gap remains wide. Western powers demand nuclear and regional concessions. Iran wants strikes to end and its security recognized. The clock is ticking, and the outcome could decide war or peace. The world's eyes are on Geneva, hoping for a breakthrough. Failure means a wider, deadlier conflict. The next days are critical. While negotiating in Geneva, Iran mounts a fierce diplomatic campaign at the UN. Foreign Minister Araghchi accuses Israel of war crimes and frames Iran as the victim of unprovoked aggression. He warns of a potential radiological catastrophe from attacks on nuclear sites, seeking to rally global opinion worldwide. Iran refuses compromise under fire, insisting its nuclear program is peaceful and denouncing US involvement. Mass protests erupt in Tehran and Baghdad, uniting populations against Israel and the US. Iran's narrative of victimhood and defiance is amplified at home and across the region. The diplomatic standoff hardens, complicating any path to peace. The world is gripped by fear as nuclear facilities become targets. Experts warn that a strike on Iran's Bushehr plant could trigger a disaster rivaling Chernobyl. Russia has evacuated its staff, and the IAEA reports Iran's uranium stockpile could yield multiple bombs if weaponized. Israel insists on zero enrichment in Iran, while Tehran claims its right to peaceful nuclear energy. The risk of nuclear escalation, though remote, is real and terrifying. The crisis exposes how quickly conventional war can threaten nuclear catastrophe. Major powers urge restraint, but entrenched positions make compromise elusive. The world hopes for de-escalation, but anxiety grows with every passing hour. The nuclear shadow looms over all. Amid strategy and diplomacy, ordinary people suffer most. In Tehran and Israeli cities, daily life has vanished, streets empty, fear constant. Internet blackouts, shortages, and economic hardship compound the trauma. Children grow up to the sound of sirens, families live in shelters, embassies close, and evacuations accelerate as the region destabilizes. In Gaza, Israeli strikes continue, adding to a staggering death toll and deepening the humanitarian crisis. Global powers respond with caution, but their words offer little comfort to those trapped in war. For civilians, hope is scarce and the future uncertain. Their fate hangs in the balance of a conflict beyond their control.